And this was the statement, the closing statement, that the results of this study may have an impact on developing new concepts for the treatment of edema, obesity, which you guys know I'm on a mission to go after obesity, and inflammatory and ischemic diseases. Dr. Mindy here, and on this video, we're going to talk about dry fasting. And there's a lot of nuance when we discuss dry fasting, but this is a new study done within the last year that I want to bring you guys because there is a lot of great information we can glean from this study and apply to our own healing journey. So if you are new to my channel, I just want to say welcome, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. I am on a mission to get 1 million people fasting. I think you will find in studies like the one I'm about to show you, in a lot of the videos here on my channel, that fasting is this door into this miraculous healing power that you were born with. So I'm excited to share studies like this with you. And those of you that share my videos out into the world, so grateful for you. I love being on this journey with you. Okay, dry fasting. I'm going to be totally honest. Dry fasting is a tough topic for me to teach you guys because I do not know your health history. I do know the science, I know the human body, I know the impact fasting can have, but I always want you to be safe. So let me start off by saying what dry fasting is. I'm going to go into this study and stay tuned because I've got several videos coming your way on dry fasting so that you guys can use the principles of dry fasting to safely apply dry fasting, get the results, but not be dangerous, okay? So please pay attention all the way through this video. Okay, dry fasting is literally probably what you're thinking. It is no food, no water. So, and of course, like all fasts, we are looking at different time periods. My stance on dry fasting is based off of the research done on Ramadan. We have a tremendous amount of research showing that when people going through the process of Ramadan, they're fasting anywhere from 12 to 16 hours, dry fasting, no food, no water. There's some incredible healing mechanisms that I will be bringing you. I feel like you do not want to go more than 12 to 16 hours. Now, having said that, I want to tell you that this study that I'm about to talk about is a 5-day dry fast. I am bringing you the results on it. I am not advocating that you do a 5-day dry fast. So please, I want to really make a strong point on that. And there's some incredible information we learned about how miraculous the human body is when you apply something like a dry fast. So here we go. This was the study. 10 participants, small study, they were human, so that's good. 5-day dry fast, and here's what they found, that there was a short-term antioxidant, anti-ischemic, which means that they improve blood flow, anti-inflammatory effect when these 10 participants went through this 5-day water fast. They also found that there was a stimulation, a reboot to the immune system. Now that part is really interesting because those of you who've been following me for a while, years ago, there was some conversation in my community that maybe 1 day of dry fasting would have the same immune benefit as 3 days of water fasting. I couldn't find any research on that. But what we're seeing here is that a 5-day dry fast has this immune stimulating piece. The research didn't go into like, was it white blood cells? What was it? But we do know that dry fasting is not only, improving blood flow, bringing down inflammation, but there is a powerful piece to the immune system, and we'll discuss that in further videos. So what was so interesting about this study, I always go to the conclusion because I want to see what the researchers who did the study, how do they feel about their findings? And this was the statement, the closing statement, that the results of this study may have an impact on developing new concepts for the treatment of edema, obesity, which you guys know I'm on a mission to go after obesity, and inflammatory and ischemic diseases. Okay, well, we have a chronic disease problem, so using the principles I'm about to teach you with dry fasting could have an effect on some of these chronic diseases that we're seeing in the human race. But as always, we're going to want to vary it, and we want to figure out how to put it into our lifestyle. So what does dry fasting do? There are 3 things. The first is it stimulates a deeper form of autophagy. So think of when we've talked about autophagy before, what autophagy is you're stimulating the intelligence inside the cell that is telling the cell to take worn out old protein parts, and we've even gone on to talk about how it'll get rid of bacteria and viruses, but it takes the working components of a cell that are not efficient anymore, and it recycles them. Well, with dry fasting, it goes one step over and it just recycles the whole cell. So all those protein parts. So it'd be a little bit of it would be like a full kitchen remodel as opposed to just changing the countertops. That's what the dry fasting is doing, is it's recycling all the parts and making them stronger. So that's interesting. The second thing that dry fasting does is that it stabilizes electrolytes. So this fascinates me. I just this morning got off an incredible podcast interview with Rob Wolf. We talked about electrolytes. That will come out months down the road, but I can't wait to share that with you. And we talked about what happens when you fast with the electrolyte balance. And he really emphasized that when we go into these fasted states, we see a dramatic shift in sodium outside the cell, which causes potassium inside the cell to go down. So you're getting a depletion of sodium, you're getting a depletion of potassium. A depletion of potassium is very fascinating because a lot of you guys that are getting the restless leg syndrome type situation where you can't, and you're getting where you get some muscle aches, some muscle pains, and some nerve type situations, nerve agitation from fasting. A lot of that could be because sodium's going down, potassium's going down. Well, what this study proved is that dry fasting stabilizes electrolytes. So why would the body do this? Well, the body does it because it senses there's no food, there's no water, we better be more efficient. So as opposed to when there's water, then you're drinking water when you're fasting, the electrolyte balance actually has more of a possibility of going off. Whereas in dry fasting, is it possible that our intelligent body is actually holding on to those electrolytes more efficiently? Again, I'm teaching you guys to think for yourself, just bringing the evidence to you. And then the last thing that dry fasting will do is that there is a 20% increase in vasopressin. Now, this is really important because vasopressin is a hormone that helps you hold on to water. So you'd think that dry fasting would dehydrate you, but go back and think about what your body needs to stay alive. As you start to dry fast, it wants to hold on to electrolytes, it wants to hold on to water so that it can stay alive. Whereas if we're giving it water, the electrolyte balance may go off a little more. Water, it may not necessarily be as dehydrated, and so it doesn't retain that as much. So here's where this is important, is vasopressin has a very strong effect on your heart and on your mind. And I actually dove into some research on vasopressin and found out that in experiments that they've done on people with cardiac arrest, that the vasopressin can increase blood flow to the heart, it can increase blood flow to the brain, and it improves long-term survival of people who are under a cardiac arrest. It improves it more than something like a shot of epinephrine can. So this is pretty cool. I mean, this is new fasting research that we're seeing. So what can we glean from this study? How do we now take this research and apply it to our own life? Well, the first thing, I hope you guys know this all the time, like how flipping miraculous is our body. When we take food out of the equation, and now we're knowing when we take liquids out of the equation, the body, its first reaction is to build itself stronger. This is so important. It doesn't mean you dry fast for 5 days. I do not recommend that. But I want to point out that the first reaction of the body under these stressful situations like dry fasting is to build itself stronger. I love that. Okay, second thing I want to glean from this study. Dry fasting also, we know it has a history of increasing cortisol by 600%. So what that means is that women, week before our cycle, no dry fasting. This is not your tool that week before, because when cortisol goes up, we know that progesterone will go down. Okay, now what else are we gleaming from this? Okay, we know it's anti-inflammatory, anti-ischemic. I haven't brought you guys any other studies showing that it can improve blood flow like that. That's amazing. So we know that it has that potential. Holding on to electrolytes. So many of us while we're fasting are losing electrolytes. And now this study has me thinking, well, maybe it's because we're drinking too much water when we fast. So throwing in some dry fasts every once in a while to help retain electrolyte balance could be really powerful. Now, how would we put that into your fasting variation? So I just again want to point out that I am not a fan of continual dry fasting. I'm not a fan of dry fasting more than anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. I also want to point out that I really feel like fasting has the potential to throw electrolyte balance off, which is why I'm a fan of things like Element, to be able to include in when you're drinking water some Element so that we're getting potassium, magnesium, sodium back into the cell. But as far as self-repair for the electrolytes, as far as intensity of autophagy, nothing has been as impressive as this study. So a dry fast once a month, 12 to 16 hours could be amazing. Stay tuned, because we're going to be doing a fast training week around these concepts. Those of you that are stuck with weight loss resistance, throw a couple of days or a day here of dry fasting, 2 weeks later throw another dry fast at it. Those of you with high blood pressure, electrolytes are pivotal for you. Those of you with leg cramping or restless leg syndrome, where we know that there's an electrolyte imbalance, let's throw a day here or there of dry fasting in. Now, I am going to bring you studies on Ramadan where they dry fast for 30 days, and many of you are already practicing that, but there's a lot we can learn about things like BDNF with that. But this study shows us that these dry fasts sprinkled into our fasting lifestyle can have a massive effect on self-repair, electrolyte balance, blood flow, inflammation, antioxidant production. There's a lot here for us to learn from. So let me know what you think, how this information is landing for you. If you're a dry fast lover, put your dry fast story in the notes so everybody can learn from it. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on these comments. And if you guys want more information on dry fasting that I've already done, go to the video that's called "Is Dry Fasting the Quickest Way to Reset Your Body?" But studies like this show you how flipping miraculous your body is. Let's just be safe, let's vary it, and let's keep working with our physiology, because you were born in a miracle.